Oh. Willow. Willow. Cheers. Fairly simple tea for myself. It's willow tips, Podiarco bark, a little bit of turmeric. Not an incredibly strong flavor, the willow, which is nice. It's a pretty good medicine. It's a good pain medicine. It has salicin that converts to salicylic acid in the body, which is a precursor they use for aspirin, which was a new kind of non-inflammatory medicine back in the day. Still a big thing. It's made from white willow, which has the highest concentration, but then all the willows are going to have some of that. And then willow's a family, so there's quite a few of them. They like to interbreed, cross-pollinate. So there's quite a few different types. This is a really cool curly, the tips are curly. It's not like your weeping willow that's really common and well known. This is a very, very different one. And the white one's a lot different with thick, dark bark. But really a great one that I got into, and fellas get into it, ladies get into it. It really helped a girlfriend of mine with painful cramps. And so that made a big difference. We made a lot of tinctures, we made a lot of tea out of that bark, and made the difference between me getting beat up or not getting beat up. On a real note. So I made sure to have a lot of it and helped other people with migraines, this and that. Really, really cool. Willows love to grow. They're not the hardest of woods. They love to grow by the water. They have a lot of water in their bark, and they're really flexible wood that a lot of people use for weaving. You make baskets and dream catcher kind of stuff, all kinds of things you can make out of the willow because it's so flexible. After it's cut and while it's cut, and I'll show you some cool willow art living. This one's pretty rockin'. I'm not sure what to call this one, but it gets these really curly branches, and most of your willows are gonna have these really skinny, long, is it ovate kind of late leaves? No, that doesn't seem right. But not all of them. They're gonna be all different, but usually the long, skinny leaves, and generally right by the water. Willows love the water. They love to have their roots all up in it. You can use the tips of the branches are the best again. You can actually use that for a rooting hormone. All commercial rooting hormones to sprout tips of other trees or shrubs or whatever you're doing. If you dip it in the rooting hormone, it's all coming from willow, so you can just utilize it yourself and do that. And so it's pretty good at re-rooting itself. Greenlight likes to tell a story about how he dried out a bunch of sticks for a fence over the summer in the heat and then planted them, and they all sprouted and grew. So this has been done much the same way. This is a living sweat lodge that has been grown from cuttings all put into the ground that just sprouted and grew, and they've been weaving. Someone's been out here weaving on it, I think today. Let's go in, let's check it out. This little bit house used to be a living sweat lodge. And you'd have your fire and coals and stuff here in the middle. But no longer. It was fairly hard on the tree. But this is what the natives would used generally for the sweat lodges. It's got all kinds of wonderful medicine in it, that when you're in all that steam of the willow, it's going to be doing good stuff for you. And so pretty cool. You can probably, transplant some pretty easy. There's a story that a man, the Alexander Pope, he wasn't the Pope, but this man in England asked a woman who got a parcel from Spain sent to her that was made of willow, and he planted that stick, and it said that all the willows in England are from that stick. Pretty cool. So that's the living sweat lodge. Pretty rockin'. Just plant yourself a nice little hobbit house. So we're back at this one, the curly willow, back by the water. But generally they're by the water. This is one of the ways you can actually find water. There's a couple ways. If you're out in the woods, you're out somewhere and you can't see any of your deserty areas, there's desert willows, but generally they'll be by the water. So if you can identify the willows, then generally you're gonna be able to find the water. So that's pretty cool. Also, when people are, I'm just trying to get the water in the shot. Can we? Yeah, maybe not there. Huh? And what you're figuring it out, getting it together. So, yeah, also when people are doing that thing, they call it witching a well. And you can find underground water. It's best to do it with a willow. When people are doing that thing and they got the triangular, it's not quite a triangle, but excuse me. You get a branch where it's coming together, it's forked, and it's got a tip out the end. You want the three-pointed, cut it, and it's gonna work best when it's fresh. So you cut that and you hold the two. You walk around, and when that one point pulls down, that's where the water is. That's how much the willow wants to be by the water. Wants that water. It's just got that relationship. And so the native story of the willow is that there was a woman This woman was approached by all these different men and all these different potential suitors. She was too picky. She said no. She said no to everyone who came. No. And eventually a man came who was different. He was more of a spirit being. He and his family were kind of magical sorcerer beings, and she wasn't incredibly aware of that and what that entailed, but sort of. And she liked the man, so she went with him. She married him. And, life in the little village with the brothers is pretty peaceful, but she comes out in the morning out of her teepee, and all the men are snakes sitting on rocks. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird for her. And she stays a while in the magical snake sorcerer camp, and she gets a little homesick. She wants to go back to People World and to her family, and she runs away. All the brothers see her and chase after her, and she's running back to her family, and at some point she doesn't even realize she's in the water. I think that she gets in the water, but she's in the water and she's on the edge of the water and she's almost back, and I feel like everyone kind of catches up with her Or is it she gets stuck there? Like she can't go back and she can't go to her family, and she ends up, she lives there. She becomes the tree. She becomes the weeping willow on the edge of the riverbanks. To read that again. I feel like Joseph Campbell does a telling of that one. Like that's where I heard it. But anyway, that's generally, the willows will be found right there, ever and always, on the edge of the riverbank, weeping or not. And I've got a few cuttings I picked in town. This one's more like the white willow, I think it is. And I'm gonna plant a few and just stick them in the dirt. I might have to sing it to you. This one's not the weeping. Gonna plant that weeping willow on the banks, green edge it will grow. Sing far gone lullabies sung many years ago. Lovers come and then go, that river it roll. Fare you well, I love you more than words can tell. Listen to that river as it sings sweet songs, it's gonna rock my soul. Listen to that river as it sings sweet songs, gonna rock my soul. And we dead, might as well be grateful. Love that one. Willow, weeping willow, down by the water, going home.